Karen Stubbs is the founder and heart behind Birds on a Wire. As a speaker, author, and creator of the Wire Talk podcast, she shares practical biblical wisdom that feels more like coffee with a friend than a sermon. Karen's heart for moms began during her years as a Navy wife, raising 4 kids while her husband was off flying fighter jets. During that season, her faith in God deepened and her passion to support other moms grew. She learned that even though parenting is hard, God is faithful and she could depend on him every step of the way. Karen and her husband Greg have been married 39 years and are proud parents to 4 grown kids, Kelsey, Emily, Taylor, and Abby, and grandparents to 7 with more on the way. Karen loves her cockapoo Barkley, early lunches, and traveling just about anywhere with friends or family. Thank you so much for joining me on an episode of The Entrepreneur's Blueprint, Karen. I am so excited you're here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Courtney.
So take me back to the beginning. What did Birds on a Wire look like when you first started, and what gave you enough confidence to actually launch it?
Oh, such a good question. Well, it started as a small group of moms in my basement. I was at church one Sunday and I was checking on my middle schooler at the time, my oldest, and I had a young mom. I was coming out of the church service and she was going in and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, Kelsey, my oldest, said she was going to be in church. I'm just making sure that's where she's sitting," because I was working. I was on staff at the church and I was working back in the children's department. So I'm just making sure she's being true to her word. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, you need to write a book and you need to help all of us young moms." And so I walked away just laughing and thinking, "Oh yeah, write a book. That's funny." And then I thought, but you know what? I could have a small group in my basement. So I invited about 7 to 8 moms that had toddlers, preschoolers. And I thought, my oldest is in middle school. That age seems very easy to me now.
Yeah.
So I could just teach them what I learned. And so that just sort of grew over time. And then that group grew and grew and grew till we had to split the group. And then those 2 groups grew till I had like 65 moms in these groups. And I told my church at the time, like, "Hey, there is a real need for moms out there, and they are struggling. They are drowning. I just feel like we've just dropped them all in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and we're just telling them, swim back to shore, but we're not giving them any kind of lifelines."
Mm-hmm.
And the church at the time was just like, "That's great. You're doing a good job. Just keep doing what you're doing." And I was like, "What?" And so I kept doing what I was doing and it just kept growing. And
Wow.
finally in 2011, I was sitting in church and I just heard the prompting of the Holy Spirit say, "It's time to leave your job and I want you to start a ministry for moms." And like probably many of your listeners listening, that was not what I thought I wanted to hear. Like I sure did
Mm-hmm.
not want to start a ministry. That felt very daunting to me. How would I do it? I'm not very good in business. I'm definitely not good at raising money. Like what would this even look like? And so, but God just kept on after me. Like, "I want you to quit. I want you to quit. I just want you to take a step of faith." That's just all I kept hearing is just take one step. I will take care of this. And truly, the first step was acknowledging, all right, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start a ministry. The second was I was talking to a lady on my staff at church and she was very business minded. And I just said, "I don't even know how to do this." And so she just sort of sat with me for months and years and just sort of held my hand, walked me through it, helped me get my 501c3. A lawyer gave their time, for free.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, God just opened up one door after another, after another, after another. And then in 2011, August, we launched completely. And it just kept growing from there. And
Yeah.
now, 15 years later, it's literally worldwide.
That's incredible. 15 years. What a ride. I'm sure you have gone on. So walk me through what the day-to-day looks like for Birds on a Wire. Like what are the actual moving parts that you're dealing with and working through on a daily basis?
Well, there's several things. We've developed a podcast called Wire Talk that's been in existence for 10 years. So we've been around a long time. And that used to be in the newspaper back in the day, there was a
Hmm.
section called Dear Abby, and people would write in their questions to Dear Abby. And so that's sort of what the Wire Talk has become. It's
Oh,
like a Dear
cool.
Abby for moms. It's Dear Karen, and
Oh,
moms are just
cool.
writing in their questions about their children, about their marriage, about, all the things of their life that they're struggling with and they're trying to juggle. And then, so the podcast is one of the main things that occupies my time. And then there's the curriculum, like what do we want to teach moms? What are moms struggling with? And a lot of that comes from the questions that the moms are asking. I
Mm.
also speak. I go to churches and I speak to groups, and whenever I'm there, obviously I'm talking to the moms and they're telling me their stories. So that all adds up to it. If I hear a mom in Kansas City saying this, and then I hear a mom in Florida saying it, and a mom in Ohio, and a mom in California, I'm like, all right, here's a theme. It's across the
Yeah.
whole country. They're
Yeah.
all struggling with anxiety. They're all struggling with discipline. I need to do some type of curriculum on that, or some type of
Hmm.
teaching on that. So we usually do a curriculum once a year. We film that, and last year we did a one on how to teach your kids the Bible, because
Mm.
I just kept talking to moms, and they're like, I'm taking them to church, but it just doesn't feel like. And church is wonderful, and
Yeah.
absolutely, we took all of our kids to church, but the mom has so much influence in that child's life. So
Hmm.
I wanted to encourage the moms on how to do that. So that's one part. Fundraising is another part. How do we keep this ministry going? None of this is free. As you well know, podcasts are not free.
No.
Everybody thinks they are, but they're not.
Mm-mm. Hmm.
And so fundraising, and then gosh, social media, that's a whole monster in and of itself. So that's it. Just every day is a new day, and we just sort of tackle the things that arise. And then this year we're having a conference for moms called SOAR.
Oh,
And so
cool.
now we're busy, knee deep working in SOAR, trying to get ready for that in September.
Nice. So you have a small team, right?
I do. I have two on my staff, and then I have a lot of contractors that work for us.
Yeah, awesome. So how do you divide the work, and like can you tell and kind of read the room to say, okay, capacity is getting a little high
Yes.
over here. What is that day to day of let's make sure everybody's got what they need.
Yeah.
But also you, Karen, are the brains behind it all. So you also need that space too.
Well, that's true. And this summer's been a little crazy because, we've had two new grandbabies. So
Oh
now
my
I have nine
gosh.
grandchildren,
Wow.
and it's just been very hectic. And they were born within 10 days of each other. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it's just been a lot of juggling. But I'm a real big proponent on knowing people's temperaments,
Mhm.
and I do a lot of talking Birds on a Wire on the colors. And so my assistant is a green color, and that she's just very peaceful, very organized, but a lot of stress stresses her out. So whenever we
Mhm.
start marching towards a conference, the stress starts going up and deadlines start happening and all that. So I really do try to answer your question, watch her and observe her. And so I'll say, how are you feeling? And she's like, I'm doing good. And what I've learned with Amanda is she's excellent at her job. Excellent. But whenever I'm a very spontaneous person, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, we could do this and we could do that and we could do this and we could do that. And as it closer it gets to SOAR, she's like, we got to stop thinking about all these amazing ideas and let's just
Yes.
focus on what we have on. So I've had to really learn myself and learn her and be like,
Mhm.
that adds extra stress to her. And I need to not do that, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then another one of my staff members, Erin, she is our operations officer, and she is amazing and fun, and she's just so great at her job. But she's so funny because she's like me, she's spontaneous and always
Yeah.
dreaming up the ideas. So I even have to tell her, all right, we are 2 months out here, no more ideas. Me too. I'm with you on this. So it's just learning yourself, I think, and learning your team and learning what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and also keeping very short accounts,
Yeah.
and just apologizing a lot and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, and I'm going to be aware of that from now on." And also we're women, so
Mhm.
we're not just doing the job that we have in front of us. We're also managing our family. We're managing the grandkids and the husbands and all the things that's at home. that we bring into the workplace, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah. So how are you splitting duty as you're a mom, you're a grandmother, you're a boss? Like, how do you, are there like tips and tricks that you have had or implemented in your life to be able to tend to all three at once?
Well, I think the first tip is to realize you're not going to be able to please everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard um, thing to learn. You're probably going to let somebody down at some point,
Yeah.
and that's okay. It's not like, the end of the world, but just realize that that's going to happen.
Yep.
And I always try to tell my kids, what do you need the most from me? What would be a benefit? Like my daughter had her first child. It was her first baby, and she's my
Oh, cool.
baby. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, before you even have this baby, what is it that you're sort of expecting from me?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it can I do that would best help you? And you may not even know the answer to that because you haven't had him yet.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, I think I would like for you to be available. Whether I need you or not, I don't know, but at least the first 2 weeks to be available. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, do you want me to spend the night? And she said, no. And I said, okay, good. That's a good
That's
thing.
great.
That way I can get some sleep in. And I asked my daughter-in-law the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and I just told my staff, this is going to be a crazy few
Yeah.
months. So I'll be around. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me, but I may not be in the office. And they've been
Yep.
very gracious about that. So I pop in when I can, and I pop out a lot too. So, yesterday I took my daughter to go meet. Obviously, Abby knew her grandmother, but I wanted my mom to meet her great grandchild, her 10th
Yeah.
great grandchild. And that took half a day.
Mm-hmm.
Always takes longer. That's another thing. Always takes longer than what you think it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my tricks of the trade would be try to tell what you're expecting or what you want, and then try to meet those needs, but know that you're not going to be able to please everybody all the time.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great suggestion, a great tip. So, operationally, or I guess for your podcast, Wire Talk, it's a subscription model, right? Through Patreon, or is it its own thing, separate?
we have both. We have the
Okay,
regular podcast, and then we do have a Patreon version of it that
got
is
it.
subscription based.
Okay, cool. And so you have a goal by December 2026 to hit. Do you mind sharing what that goal is and kind of how
Yeah.
you're measuring yourself to get there and what you guys are doing?
Yep. We just decided at the beginning of this year, like we've got to start raising some money and not have it all be donor based. And so
Mm-hmm.
the moms had been asking for more content, more this, more that. So I said, okay, let's give it to them. Let's
Yeah,
put it in Patreon. It'll be Wire Talk Plus. Our goal is to get to 400 subscribers by the end of the year. So right now we're at 200. So we're halfway through,
nice.
which I think is good
That's
because
awesome.
July starts the second half of the year. And so we're halfway there.
That's
So,
awesome.
and that would just bring in income to help offset the production of the podcast, because I don't have anyone on my staff that can do the audio, the video, and we do audio and video, and we're on YouTube and all that. When they make shorts to put out on social media, one thing
Mm-hmm.
adds to another, and it all
It
costs
does.
money.
It does.
I
I feel
know,
you.
right?
I feel you.
So
Yes.
so we just thought that would offset the cost to the podcast, because it was getting to be the most expensive thing we did, even over the filming of the curriculum and everything else. But it also
Wow.
has our largest reach.
Mm,
So by the end of the year, we hope to get 400 Patreon subscribers. So $10 a month, which we
yeah.
felt like, and they get all the extra content. So
Yeah. So, what is some of that extra content that they get that the free listener doesn't?
So the free listener gets the podcast where the moms write in their questions, or where we have a guest speaker come in to talk about something specialized.
Oh, cool.
Then we keep them, the guest speaker, or Emily and I, my host, and we stay on afterwards, and we sort of dive down deeper. So let's say I
Cool.
have Sissy Goff on the podcast, and she's talking about her new book, Capable. So
Yeah.
we ask her all the questions up front. Then whenever the Wire Talk Plus, we say, okay, Sissy, now these are our paid subscribers, so let's give them a little extra more. Let's break this down even further. Like you're saying, children can do more than what we expect them to do. Now let's break it down into age categories,
Mm,
to 5 years old, 6 to 12, 13 to 18. What are the things that these kids can be doing at this age? And that helps a mom because, here we have an expert and she's been working with children for over 30 years in psychology and all that. And she's giving them, okay, a toddler can do this, 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 and this. And that helps give the mom the confidence. Okay, Sissy says they can do this, so they can do this. Even though her child's not doing that,
right.
now she's inspired that she can. And we
Hmm.
also ask different questions like, okay, if you're not going to do this, allow your children to do these extra things. What does that instill in them? What character is that building in them? And she answers those questions. It just dives down deeper because you've got more time to really talk to the author of the book. Or Emily and I will talk about, like, let's say the episode in Wire Talk is on discipline. So then in Wire Talk Plus, I will give really detailed examples of how I had to work on my son's disrespect for
Yeah.
authority whenever he was growing up, or my daughter's habit of exaggerating the truth and basically getting to lying. And
Yeah.
how did that really work? Because moms want a quick answer, but
Hmm.
whenever you're disciplining a child, it's never quick.
Right.
It's always the long game. But I think the more examples we can give them and show them, hey, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and I did this, and eventually this was the outcome. I think that's encouraging for moms.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. Oh, that's awesome. I think you're providing such a service. And if you want more of this, then go to this plus offering, which is invaluable, right? Like
Mhm.
that seems just like easy money well spent to then come out on the other side as a better mom, hopefully a better wife and friend and daughter just through what they're learning through your ministry.
Well, that's my hope. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Hey, I want to pause here for just a second. If what you're hearing today is hitting close to home, if you're recognizing your business in these patterns, I want you to know that it's not a coincidence. This is exactly the work I do with founders. I work with business owners who know something needs to change but haven't had the right person in their corner to help them build it. If that sounds like where you are, there's an inquiry form linked in the show notes. It takes about 3 minutes. Tell me where you are, what's not working, and what you're trying to build, and we'll find time to talk. Okay, let's keep going. So you do have monthly donors, but that's also different from other customers and your other revenue stream.
Mhm.
How do you kind of balance those two? Because those, I imagine, I've never had to do fundraising, but I imagine that's very different to think
It
about.
is. So for our donors, basically they believe in what we're doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
most of our donors are couples that have benefited from Birds
Mm,
on a Wire. So I've got
cool.
a husband that says this ministry has meant more to my wife than anything else. I want to invest in this ministry for other
Mm-hmm.
families. So really and truly, for me, it's just continually showing them the stories, showing them the kingdom value. Like we are investing in the next generation because this is the deal. Barna did a study years ago, like 4 years ago, just talking about um, moms.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed in the study that the moms are the main disciplers of the children over the church, over the youth pastor, over the small group leader, over all that. It's the moms. And then the study went on and asked the moms, do you feel supported by your church? And they said no,
Wow.
not for
Wow.
being a mom. I mean, I'm supported in
Right.
the pastor preaching his sermons and all that, but as a mom, nobody is supporting me. And I'm having to figure all this out. Well, that's where Birds
Mm-hmm.
on a Wire does support the moms. That's the whole reason we are here, is to equip and encourage moms. And it's not just for themselves mentally, but it's also for the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
Because I truly believe that if I can reach a mom, then she's going to affect her husband and all of her children underneath her, and then they're going to affect their children, and it goes
Yeah.
on generationally. So I just feel like if I can pour into a mom and show her and point her to the Lord always. It's not me, it's to God. He is their helper. He is their mainstay. He is their rock. But so many times a mom doesn't even think about God. And that's where my story comes in with the Navy. Whenever I was a fighter pilot's wife and we were having our kids in Virginia, far away from family, far away from home, God was my only source. And
Mm-hmm.
I truly relied on him for everything, everything. And my husband was averaging 5 days a month home at one point of his career
Wow.
because he was in the
Wow.
Navy
Mm-hmm.
reserves and he was also flying FedEx. So I understand what it's like to do this mothering journey alone and feeling very overwhelmed and I can't do this. And God showed me very clearly, you can do this because I'm going to help you do this,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I had to learn to truly, truly, truly depend on and rely on the Lord for every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 4 kids
Yeah,
and your
I know.
husband's at home 5 days. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
I don't know how I
I
did it. I
know.
mean, I really,
It's
I look
crazy.
back and I look at my kids now and I'm like, wow, how did I do that? But I did it because God helped me.
You
He
did.
truly
Mm-hmm.
did sustain me through it. I mean, it wasn't anything I did. It was truly him. And I can almost see a difference in my parenting whenever I was trying to do it all on my own and then learned and started allowing the Lord to do it through me. There's a difference in that. And that's what
Yeah.
I try to teach in Birds on a Wire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So when we were prepping for this episode, you mentioned an idea for new curriculum focused
Mhm.
on grandmothers.
Yeah.
So tell me more about where this idea came from.
Well, once again, the people that I talk to whenever I travel around, and everybody kept saying, because grandmothers are getting younger and younger and younger,
Mhm.
and they
Yeah.
were like, what are you going to do for us? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have anything out there for us, and nobody has anything out there for grandmothers. And I was like,
Yeah.
so last year, 2025, we formed a focus group for grandmothers, and we invited. And the
Oh.
funny thing is, it started just like Birds on a Wire started. We started with like 6 grandmothers around a small table at a restaurant, and I was just like, I want to pour into grandmothers,
Mm.
do you think this is needed? What would you want it to look like? And so then the next meeting, they invited their friends. We're to 12. And then the next
Wow.
meeting, we're at 24. You know what? And it just kept, and I said, okay, there's definitely something here.
Mhm.
So this summer, actually next month in July, we are filming our first curriculum for grandmothers. I've already told Right Now Media, like, I'm doing this and I'd like for y'all to pick this up. And
Yeah.
so they said they'd love to take a look at it. So we'll see. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be great. It's going to be a curriculum for grandmothers talking about their purpose as a grandmother, talking about
Mm.
boundaries, good, healthy boundaries. What do they look like? Why do we need them? Time management, because you think as an empty nester, you're going to have more time and you actually have less.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
really true. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were walking and I said, I don't know where all my time goes. Well, it goes between my work and my children and my grandchildren and my aging mother,
Mhm.
and then every now and
Mhm.
then Greg and I do something. And then we're going to talk about being a student of your child, temperaments I just told you about, the importance of that. And then finding contentment in your stage of life and not wishing you had somebody else's
Mm.
grandchildren or their situation. Maybe you want to live close to your grandchildren, but you don't. They live across the country or in another country. So those are the things we're going to be talking about in the grandmother curriculum.
Oh,
I'm super.
that sounds awesome. So you wrote the curriculum and now what does filming with a team, a very small and scrappy team, how do you do that at your home? Like, what does that look like?
I have done things at my home. I just picked different locations, like how
Cool.
to teach your kids the Bible. We did it at this little sweet church with stained glass windows and all
Oh,
that,
cool.
pews and the whole nine yards. That was really sweet. This curriculum, we're going to film it at the lake up here at
Mm,
Lake Lanier in a beautiful home that somebody has graciously given us for the day to film our
cool.
curriculum. And I want to invite all my grandchildren there so we can get some B footage, B rolls
Yeah.
with them running around and playing and having fun. because that's what grandmother world is all about. I contract this great film team, and it's
Cool.
these two guys, and they've done the last several curriculums of ours. They really have a vision for Birds on a
Nice.
Wire too, and they
Oh,
believe
cool.
in what we're doing. So it's going to be good. I'm really excited.
How'd you find a mission aligned like video service? Was this word of mouth or how'd you find them?
It's just connections. That church that
Yeah.
I worked at,
Mm,
I made a lot of connections there, and they
yeah.
do a lot of film and video and all that. But this guy came out of that church,
Oh,
and
cool.
he was a pastor, but he had this sideline, business of film. And
Mm-hmm.
we were just talking one day, and I just said, "You should just do it. I mean, if you want to do it, God will provide." And they provide such a great service.
I
And
bet.
so it's just a good fit for us because we were friends in the beginning.
So
And
cool.
and this guy is very creative. He is very creative and he has great ideas. So he sits in on our brainstorming meeting
Oh,
once a
cool.
month and helps me brainstorm. He's like, my goal is to get everything in your mind, Karen, out and on video before you retire. And I was like, well, if
Yes.
you can do that, you've got a big job ahead of you. So, okay. So that's our goal. That's our goal, is to get it all
Yeah.
out of here and out into the
In
world
video.
before I retire.
Cool. So is this audience with this new curriculum then, is it a new audience or an extension of your existing one?
Both, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know. It's so funny. I'm adding to the grandmothers group every day because all my friends are becoming grandmothers. And I'm like, you got to
Mm-hmm.
get in this group.
Yeah.
And so, both. But hopefully, we're going
Cool.
to pick up a whole bunch of new moms for Birds on a Wire through this
Yeah.
curriculum.
Yeah. So if you were to measure success on this curriculum, what would success look like in year one?
Wow. I guess I should put a number to it. I'm not very good at putting numbers to things, but
Great
just
ideas.
that
It's
it
all
would,
good.
yeah, just that it would reach a lot of new families that don't even know
Mm-hmm.
anything about Birds on a Wire. I
Yeah.
would love for the grandmothers to hear it, watch it, view it, and just be like, okay, I love this for me, but I also want this for my daughter or my daughter in law. And then
Yeah.
to educate that younger generation, like, hey, she's got a podcast, she's got curriculum, she's got books, like, check her out. Because I just feel like the more we can spread the word of Birds on a Wire, just the stronger the families are going to be.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I agree. So, what are you talking to God about in your business and ministry right now?
Oh Lord, I was just talking to him this morning. I just remind him every day, like, you started this ministry.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to keep it up, because you're gonna have to bring in the donors, because as we get bigger, the budgets get bigger, and it's a lot. It can be
Yeah.
daunting. So I just remind him, like, I'm happy to be your hands and feet. I'm happy to spread this message. I'm happy to do my part. Just bring me the donors. Bring me the
Hmm.
people that believe in what I'm doing, believe in what you're doing through me, and also equip our team. I met a lady that worked for Beth Moore years ago, and she's a dear friend of mine now. And whenever I was first starting out, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just like, oh, this is so daunting. It's just so big, and I don't know if I'm doing it right. And she just said, Beth always says to stay in step with the Lord. Don't run ahead, don't run behind, don't lag
Hmm.
behind. Stay in step with the Lord. So that's what I pray every morning. Just, God, help me stay in step with you. I don't want to run
Mm.
ahead. I don't
Yeah.
want to lag behind. I want to stay in step with you. And he's been so faithful throughout this whole journey. I remember 8 years ago when my dad died. He died right at Christmas. And that's
Mm.
fundraising is your biggest season at Christmas and end of
Yep.
the year. And he got sick at Thanksgiving, and I
Mm.
just knew they did not give him much time, and he died 3 weeks later. And
Wow.
I just told the Lord that season, I'm not going to fundraise. I'm going to stay with my dad, and I'm going to be there at the house with my mom and my sisters. And so if you bring the money in, then that's great. But if you don't, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to honor my dad. And we
Hmm.
made more money that year than we'd ever made.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know. So
Wow.
It's really not on my shoulders. It's really on his.
Mm-hmm.
And we're 15 years old this year. He's never let me down. But that's what I pray. I pray that I would stay in step with him. I pray that he would fund the ministry the way it needs to go. And I even say, if I need to cut things out, show me. Show
Yeah.
me that it's not effective, and show me
Mm-hmm.
that, this could go. It's a fluff thing and it doesn't need. And I've had to do that with things over the years. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we're not going to do that anymore because it just costs too much money and it's not effective. So, but those are the hard decisions. But, and then the last thing I pray about to God all the time is, fill me with your Holy Spirit so that whenever I speak, the moms hear you and not me,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want them to think I'm their hero, because I'm not.
Right.
I'm just teaching what God has taught me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. So, Karen, how can people find you? How can they find Birds on a Wire, the podcast, and all the great content you're putting out?
So, Birds on a Wire is birdsonawiremoms.com. That's our website. And also have an app, Birds on a Wire Moms. And then Wire Talk is the podcast. So you just go to Apple, Spotify, whatever, venue you listen to your podcast in, we're there. And then for Wire Talk Plus, the Insider Edition, you just sign up with that through Wire Talk, and it'll just, like, you'll hear the episode and then it'll just keep on playing for your Wire
Oh,
Talk Plus.
cool.
And if they
Cool.
have any questions, info@birdsonawiremoms.com, and that will get straight to my assistant, which will eventually get straight to me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being with me today, for taking time out of, I know, a very, very busy schedule. I really appreciate it. And I know my listeners do as well. So thank you again.
Well,
And
thank you.
if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave a review and let us know what you thought. And let me know if you go and look up Karen's ministry. Please do that. I would love that. I would love that for her. And thank you so much for listening today.